Chapter 470 to 471. Uchiha Clan Ruins from the Warring States period. Uchiha Shursui stroked the murals on the walls with a deep look and shouted, "Itachi, come here and take a look at these." Uchiha Itachi, who was not very far away, walked over and carefully studied the murals Shursui pointed at. The murals tells the tale of an Uchiha shinobi. Long ago, there was an Uchiha. He and one other child were born as the children of the patriarch of the Uchiha clan, and a kunoichi from some other clan whose name hasn't been mentioned. Perhaps she was a Senju, Uzumaki, Hyuga, Kagaya, or maybe some other shinobi clan. But it didn't matter because soon after she gave birth to the two children, twins, she died due to severe weakness and exhaustion. The existence of the two children, one boy and one girl, was kept a secret, and the two of them were raised by one of the loyal subordinates of the patriarch. The boy, the older of the two, was trained to become the next patriarch of the Uchiha clan, and he was the most exceptional shinobi the Uchiha clan had ever seen. Whatever was taught to him, he would always grasp it at once and improve it to various degrees. His wisdom was unlike any other anyone had ever seen. He always fought on the front, and never lost even a single battle. Rumors said that he was born with a special body, and whatever injury he received healed soon enough. There was no correct answer as to what was the exact cause, but he was deemed to be the strongest of all, the strongest to have ever lived. When his father died, his eyes changed into a different pattern, and he gained more power. He used that power to kill more enemies. With him on their side, the Uchiha clan was confident in being able to dominate the Senju clan. With him on their side, the Uchiha clan was confident in finally dominating the entire shinobi world. But one day, when the Uchiha clan was returning from the war against the Senju clan, something happened. What exactly happened was unknown, but it was a disaster for the Uchiha clan. The invincible Uchiha, who was said to be undefeated, died of assassination, and the person who killed him was none other than his own younger sister. After killing her brother, the sister also mortally wounded the wife of her older brother, and then fled the scene. The wife, because of her critical injury, died soon after. The Uchiha clan searched the shinobi world to find the whereabouts of the treacherous sister for months and years. They had to punish her for her treachery, but they could never find her. Perhaps she had escaped to the edge of this world and died, or maybe she committed suicide out of guilt. The true cause of her disappearance was unknown, but she was never seen again. Strange, why would the sister kill her own twin brother for seemingly no reason? Muttered Itachi with a thoughtful look on his face. Shursui was also confused and said, "There could be countless reasons, and we wouldn't know the exact cause. But that aside, look here. Do you see this?" Itachi followed Shursui's gaze and looked at two different murals. Their two were paintings of two different Susanoo facing each other. What's noticeable about these two Susanoo is that they seem to carry two different types of weapons. The first Susanoo carries a huge gourd, while the other Susanoo carries a huge shield. Itachi said with a doubt, "A huge gourd? And a giant shield?" Shursui added, "Moreover, the color of both gourd and shield is completely different from the color of the two Susanoo, which is black and white respectively. Perhaps these gourd and shield are not a natural part of the Susanoo. Although these paintings are centuries old, reading and deciphering them is not a problem for Shursui and Itachi. The color contrast between black and white Susanoo and the two red weapons is so conspicuous that it is a bit difficult to not notice. And Itachi and Shursui are Uchiha who have experience in using Susanoo, so obviously they can recognize these differences. Both Shursui and Itachi understand that Susanoo is actually the manifestation of one's own chakra through Manjikyu Sharingan. The color of one's chakra can never have many distinct colors, therefore, any weapon of Susanoo should be of the same color as the main Susanoo body. Itachi said, "The gourd is most likely Sword of Totsuka." Shursui muttered with a frown, "But isn't Sword of Totsuka supposed to be a sword and not a gourd?" Itachi said after a bit of thinking, "According to what Kuroto-san has told us, the Sword of Totsuka is a sword of sealing. It's quite special and different from other Kusanagi swords. Its appearance may not be as simple as we think." Shursui nodded, then said, "If that's the case, then the shield is most likely Yata Mirror, right?" Itachi nodded, "Quite possibly." After reaching a consensus, the two separated and searched the ruins for any more clues that they can find. However, even after searching for a long time, the two never found any more clues related to the gourd or the shield in the mural. After meeting again, Shursui said, "There was no record of this gourd or shield in the clan archives. If we assume that one of the two artifacts was that of the brother, does that mean it is buried with the body of the brother?" Itachi also thought of the same possibility. If this gourd and shield are so powerful, there should have been some kind of record about them in the clan. Yet nobody knows about them, no records were left. In fact, there is also no information about the twin siblings. This can only mean that everything related to the pair of siblings, including all the information, was either destroyed or lost. This strangeness made both Itachi and Shursui realize that something is wrong here. Unfolding the map, Itachi drew a few circles on the map based on his memory, then said, "I have checked the archives within the clan, These locations are the burial grounds. Maybe we can find some information here. After Konoha was founded, all the deceased ninja and civilians were buried at the Konoha Cemetery, and the clansmen of the Uchiha clan were no exception. Therefore, the Uchiha clan cemeteries that were used during the Warring States period have long been abandoned and most of them are left unattended. With a bit of hesitation, Shursui nodded. All right, let's go take a look. Although disturbing the slumber of the deceased ancestors is a very rude thing, in contrast, protecting the village and the clan is more important. So, if they can find any clue about the legendary sword of Totsuka in the graves of the deceased ancestors, Shursui would rather disturb the slumber of the ancestors so that they can get their hands on the sword of Totsuka, so as to protect the village and the clan. There was no hesitation in Itachi's eyes, and he nodded. Shursui-san, I believe that the ancestors would be willing to forgive us. Itachi believes that the ancestors would be willing to forgive the two youngins of their clan, as he and Shursui are doing this for the peace of Shinobi World and for the Uchiha clan. Shursui nodded and the two left the site to start the grave robbery. At the old base of Root. Kuroto-sama, please don't be so rough. Otherwise I will truly break. HN Can you please shut up already? And stop acting like a masochist. It's not only embarrassing, but also very creepy given the situation. Not to mention cringy too. I am only looking through your memories, not molesting you, that you would exclaim like that, said Kuroto in an annoyed tone. Mao, but by diving inside my brain and reading all my memories, Kuroto-sama is also able to see my darkest and dirtiest secrets, and it's making me go crazy in a good way, said Kazekage Pakura with a visible blush on her as her breathing started to get rough. Kuroto looked at the current Pakura with a dead fish eye look and said, I only want to see the memories related to Scorch Release, nothing else. Besides, I have already read all your memories back then. So would it really matter if I look through them again? Kuroto-sama, you are no fun, said Pakura with a pout, and thought, it's a pity that Kuroto-sama doesn't seem to display any interest in me. Then she decided to stop teasing Kuroto and focused on the important objective for which Kuroto has come to see her. All right, Kuroto-sama, I won't tease you anymore. You can use that jutsu of yours. Kuroto nodded and without any weight, he used Tenseigan Soul Descend to take over Pakura's body. Because Kuroto has become quite proficient in using Tenseigan Soul Descend, and because Pakura did not pose any resistance and actively allowed Kuroto to enter her body and take over her consciousness, therefore, Kuroto easily managed to take the dominant position. Now, I want you to use a small-scale jutsu of Scorch Release. Make sure to take it slow and steadily, so that I can personally feel and understand the entire process. Instructed Kuroto. Pakura in her consciousness nodded, and decided to create a few very small Scorch Orbs. Under her control, the chakra in her body soon turned into a few small orbs and appeared around her hands. Kuroto, of course, observed the entire process, and soon understood its mechanism. At the same time, Pakura also said, Kuroto-sama, I take it that you have read the scroll of Scorch Release that I sent you? Kuroto nodded. Yes, I understand the theory and mechanics behind Scorch Release quite well. Pakura nodded then said, All right, but even so, I guess I should explain Scorch Release once again. Kuroto did not mind. Perhaps it would give him a better understanding of Pakura were to explain Scorch Release personally. Basically, Scorch Release is an advanced nature transformation that combines fire and wind chakra to generate scorch orbs and manipulate scorching heat waves. Scorch Release is similar to Fire Release, but is quite different at the same time. The Fire Release involves the use of fire to burn the target itself, but Scorch Release is different in this aspect. In Scorch Release, fire is condensed and then amplified with wind to very high temperatures in order to create scorching heat orbs. And wind is again used to carry these scorching heat orbs and heat waves to boil, and then evaporate the water from the target. I understand this part. Fire is fueled by the wind to create high-temperature fire orbs that radiate high-temperature heat waves to evaporate moisture from the targets, as a result, mummifying them. Is the gist, right? Kuroto nodded as he controlled the 9 small scorch orbs that are a bit similar to truth-seeking orbs, but much weaker and simpler in terms of power and functionality. Pakura nodded. Now, despite being an incredibly powerful Kekii Genkai, Scorch Release is also quite limited, as it's mainly a close-range style of elemental technique, said Pakura, emphasizing the close-range part. Kuroto frowned. If he remembers correctly, Pakura had started to develop Scorch Release further, in order to be able to use it at a large distance too. Pakura seemed to have guessed Kuroto's doubt and said, Its mainly close-range style element does not imply that it cannot be used for long range. It can be used with the help of stronger and more wind. Remember, the wind that is combined with fire is what is causing the scorch orbs to burn so hotly. The oxygen present in the wind fuel the flames. This is easy to understand, however, the stronger the flames, the faster the fuel, i.e., oxygen is burned. This is important. This is the reason why I mostly use scorch orbs for close-range combat, because even before a scorch orb is expelled, it already starts burning the fuel supply. If it is sent to a longer distance, then the oxygen supply it would consume would increase tremendously, and that is very taxing on chakra reserves. The longer the distance it covers, the more chakra it will consume, because we have to provide enough wind to fuel the oxygen supply until the scorch orb reaches the intended target. My own chakra reserves are not as high as that of a bijou, so I generally prefer to use my scorch orbs at short range, but if required, I am willing to use them for long-range targets too. Kuroto nodded in understanding, but he wasn't much worried about the problem of chakra reserves. The chakra reserves of his Fujin clone are even higher than his main body, and it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that the chakra reserves of his Fujin clone are as high as that of Nibi, or probably Sanbai, which is considered a lot. In Kuroto's view, Scorch Release is indeed an incredibly powerful Kekkai Genkai, and is incredibly rare too, as there have been very few users of Scorch Release in history. It's very versatile and dangerous, therefore, Scorch Release is very important for the Fujin clone. Scorch Release also made Pakura the hero of Suna during the Third Great Shinobi War, and Pakura's exploits speak for themselves about this Kekkai Genkai. The only weakness of Scorch Release is perhaps water release, so Kuroto will have to figure out a way to get around that. But it's no big deal in the end, as Kuroto also has other Kekkai Genkai for the Fujin clone. After completely understanding Scorch Release, Kuroto began to have a discussion with Pakura about the limits of Scorch Release and various other details about it. Konoha Training Ground 21. After completing her daily training regimen, Yuhi Kurinai walked to the side of the field, picked up a towel to wipe off the sweat, then drank water from the water bottle to replenish her water levels. Although she has to constantly perform missions as part of Team Row, Kurinai is unwilling to relax her training. She would still spend most of her free time in training in order to hone her skills, so as not to be a burden in the Team Row. The mission of assassinating Yonde Mizukage left a deep shadow on her. She couldn't accept the fact that she wasn't even qualified to accompany the captain on the mission, and because of that the captain had to leave the other members of the team behind, else they would only be a burden on him. This is completely unacceptable. I will definitely surpass him. Kurinai would always encourage herself by thinking this. She wants to prove that she is no worse than the shinobi with Dojutsu Kekkai Genkai, like that of Hyuga Kuroto and Uchiha Shursui. Although sometimes Kurinai is annoyed at Hyuga Kuroto's blunt words and how he always looks down on her, she also understands that some of his advice is indeed correct. This is why she has been trying to constantly improve her taijutsu proficiency, at the same time, integrate her genjutsu with taijutsu so as to cover up her weakness. At the same time, she has also started to learn ninjutsu in order to become a more versatile kunoichi. Genjutsu is her specialty, and she wants to continue improving this aspect of her. But she has also decided to not let genjutsu limit her. While Kurinai was busy thinking about how to proceed further, a young man coincidentally happened to pass by. He noticed Kurinai, so decided to come and walk over and greet her. "Oh, Kurinai-san, such a coincidence. I did not expect to meet you here. By the way, it seems that a new restaurant has opened in the village today. Would like to go have dinner there?" The young man is none other than Sarutobi Asuma, who returned back to Konoha not long ago. After several years of experience working as a ninja in the Guardian 12, Asuma has matured a lot. He is no longer the rebellious teenager he used to be back in the day. Kurinai was broken out of her thought because of the sudden words. She looked at the person in front of her only to notice that it is none other than Sarutobi Asuma, then shook her head. "I am sorry, Asuma-san, I have a mission tomorrow, so I must sleep early. Good night." Asuma quickly nodded. "Oh, a mission, huh? It's all right then. We can visit the restaurant on some other occasion, by the way. Good night to you too." Kurinai neither agreed nor denied, and after picking up her belongings she directly passed by Asuma and left the training field. In fact, she was too tired and did not even pay much attention to Asuma's words. Looking at Kurinai's leaving figure, Asuma murmured, "Huh, was there a problem in my approach? But Kakashi said that it should work this way. Or did I make a mistake somewhere? It seems I will have to take more suggestions from Kakashi." Asuma may have matured a lot as a person, but he is still far from reaching the point where he could court Yuhi Kurinai. Kurinai came back to her home and wanted to take a hot bath, but before she could proceed to the bathroom to prepare hot water, Kurinai suddenly stopped, the reason being that her senses were screaming at her. It felt as if a vicious snake was looking at her as prey. "Yuhi Kurinai, you were able to notice my presence. It seems that you too have matured. Shinku-san would be proud of you." At this time, a faint hoarse sound that seemed to contain hypnotic power came from behind her. Kurinai was shocked and turned around violently, as she drew out a kunai from her shinobi bag. But looking at the person who had unknowingly snuck into her house, Kurinai's face turned from shock to a horrifying look. The person walked forward and said with a smile, My, no need to be so nervous, Kurinai dear. It's not as though I am going to eat you." Orochimaru? Ush, how did you sneak into the village? And what do you want to do?" Kurinai spoke in a panicked tone because the one standing before her is none other than the snake Sannin Orochimaru.